a rainy, cold, and wet morning here at 22 degrees in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Please, whatever it is you do today, drive carefully on the roads. Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
I can only imagine what you had to go through this morning. I was hoping I wouldn't have to make a video call to see you this morning, Maupe. Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makine. Well, it's not so distant in terms of the weather here in Lagos as well. Everything looks cool and cloudy a bit. Whether or not there's going to be some rain, I guess the day will tell the story. Again, welcome to the show.
Indeed, Ayo, you are right on the money. I mean, I nearly didn't make it to the office today. 3 different accident scenes along the airport road that I witnessed this morning, and I want to believe that officials of the Federal Road Safety Corps will be on top of their jobs, especially when we have weathers like this, and to also give caution residents advisory, calm down, slow down, things like that. There needs to be a little more awareness, especially in seasons like this, so that people can get to their destination safely. After all, that's what they are supposed to be about. The safety of the lives and citizens who are using our roads. Well, we'll keep tabs on that. The visuals you're currently seeing is that of the front of the National Assembly, which we will also be keeping tabs on. As you can see, it's very wet, and of course the roads, as expected, would also be slippery. But that's not why we're showing you these visuals. It's because today at the National Assembly, Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan, beg your pardon, is supposed to resume today. She has indicated that she will be resuming plenary today. The Senate has said that is not what the court judgment said. That at best the court judgment they have was, or they were served, was advisory in nature, and they think that she should serve out her 6-month suspension. But from what we gather, she will be at the National Assembly today. So we'll be keeping tabs on that. But what we can see right now is that the roads still look very free into the National Assembly. As you can see, it is rainy, it is cold, and it is wet. But there are a lot of other things to discuss about the Federal Capital Territory, because it wasn't just, it's not just the rains. Yesterday, we witnessed a most heartbreaking sight, something that, we hope that, there will be urgent attention given to it. That retired policemen, yes, we have all of the, terrible things to say about Nigeria police. People have, really terrible stories about Nigeria police. Nonetheless, we know that they do good work, and we know that in spite of all of their flaws, it is this police. This is the only police we have in the entire country, and that their flaws do not exactly describe them. It does not make sense that after they have finished serving their term in office as dutifully as they can, a lot of them very loyal to the force, loyal to the country, that they need to beg, and protest for their pensions. This is untenable. This is one of the most heartbreaking scenes that anyone can ever witness in the country. We talk about corruption in the Nigeria police force, but for those who are currently in the force, what message does this sort of protest send to them about what their welfare will be when they eventually leave the force? The fate that awaits them after they have meritoriously served this country. This is something that needs to be urgently addressed. Yes, we saw the IGP having a meeting with them at that level, saying that their concerns are already being addressed. But sir, a lot more urgency, and it's not just the IGP who should be speaking. I think that the Minister of Finance, because what is being indicted here is also the contributory pension system. This scheme was introduced to avoid things like this. So if for the Nigeria police that is not working, things like this are still being witnessed, then clearly this certainly leaves a lot more to be desired and takes away confidence from that scheme that is supposed to ensure that things like this do not happen. Ayo, your thoughts?
I was hoping that by now the police would have at least released a statement to let us know exactly what is happening as far as this matter is concerned. And it is indeed very, very heartbreaking. Excuse me. I remember one of the things that we'd been told over time as reason for the lull, to use a fair word, in the civil service, in the service delivery of the civil service all over the nation, both federal and state, even the local government level, is because of the unceremonial way in which they were dismissed in the 70s during the Murtala Mohammed government. But that was how many years ago now? That's been decades. That's more than 40 years now. And if we are still dealing with this, we're still struggling with this. Those were the days of what they called the super palm sex at the time, and they had quite the influence. And they were the ones that sustained government. So if we're having poor service delivery today, there are many people who trace the poor service delivery of government, federal or state, to that era. They were the ones who ensured that whatever was the system was sustained, irrespective of whatever government came into power. And that, of course, included the police, the security apparatus of government at all levels all over the nation. We even had environmental police back in the day. Excuse me. But now that this is happening, it is one of the reasons, Mark, that a number of agitators for this whole local government autonomy thing continue to say that the salaries of teachers should not be paid at the local government level because they are uncertain of what's going to happen to them. Now, here we are talking about not just the police, but the same thing has happened before. We have heard soldiers also protest before, and I think those ones were even in service at the time because of the way they were being treated. Now, if this is what we are having now, we need to hear from the police, both the Nigeria Police Force and the Police Service Commission. Someone needs to say something about how come this is the experience we are having of people who have served and who are serving. This is the reason for corruption, Malpai. This is the reason that some of these people who want to satisfy themselves to the best of their knowledge before they get out of service, because once they're out of service, they're not able to do some of these things anymore. So their Nigeria Police, their Police Service Commission, we need to know why this happened. And who is it that, because many times when we are talking about government, I am saying to myself, government is just one or two persons who failed to do one or two things they were supposed to do. So we need to identify who these people are and do the needful as far as this is concerned. This is a sorry sight. In any part of the world, this is a sorry sight. Mark, we're back to you.
Truly heartbreaking, Ayo. You can say that again. Really, really heartbreaking. And I'm hoping that it will not end here. If the IGP says that, these things that they're working on, or these things that they're protesting about, they're already working on it. The question is, how soon will it be resolved? When will they begin to see the results? Ayo, one irony also hit me. That whilst the retired police officers were protesting, they had to be guided by their own, by their serving colleagues. I'm sure those ones will be wondering, they would have handled them, I'm sure, with some gentility, because they'll be wondering, is this really the fate that will befall me? So a part of them will be doing that job very half-heartedly, if you ask me, because it could be them tomorrow. So it is in our best interest that we resolve these issues as quickly as possible. Well, speaking of issues that need to be resolved, it's not just this protest. Something happened very quietly yesterday also in the Federal Capital Territory. We've been talking about this visa issuance business for a while now. It was just about a few weeks ago when the U.S. Embassy alerted Nigerians who will be needing visas to the U.S. That there will now be a new regime whereby Nigerians will only be given a single entry 3-month visa, as opposed to the multiple entry 5-year visa, which they used to give. It turns out that whilst that was being issued, and we heard the response of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who said that it wasn't just about reciprocity. As a matter of fact, he says that Nigeria has not changed its policies towards the United States. But something else has been happening behind the scenes, which is around immigration. The Nigerian Immigration Service has introduced a portal way before this controversy came up, and also warning foreign nationals that if they overstay their visas. They're subject to penalties. And I think perhaps on the back of that, in fact, when this announcement came by the U.S. Embassy, I recall that the Minister of Interior, Interior had to visit. I nearly said Internal Affairs. We no longer have Internal Affairs. It's the Minister of Interior had to visit the U.S. Ambassador to explain. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding with what it was that Nigeria was trying to do. But Nigeria has been trying to sanitize its immigration systems and wants all foreign nationals to comply. So yesterday, we saw an issuance of a statement by the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, not only warning foreign nationals that if they overstay their visas or if they were fraudsters, they were liable not to be given visas and banned permanently from the States. We also saw them warning their own nationals of overstaying the visas granted them in Nigeria, which indicates to a number of Nigerians that the measures being put in by Nigeria to sanitize the system is finally kicking in. Now, if you ask me how many Americans are overstaying their visas, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know how prevalent this is, but it might surprise you to know that when things do not work, people do not take some things, they don't take it seriously. But when you now begin to see things like this being also taken up by the embassies, this is something that indicates that, there is a new regime. And I think that, countries that take themselves seriously, need to do things like this. So that when we're talking about quid pro quo, we know what it is that we're doing. If we're talking about visa issuance, if we're talking about negotiations, we know on what platform we negotiated. But Ayo, certainly this is something to take note of, isn't it?
That we should give concern to. Well, of course, the fact that the U.S. is also warning its citizens is something important. But the warning from the Minister of Interior in Nigeria is not only to that effect. It's to any and every, it's not just to the U.S. To any and every national in the country, every foreigner in the country who overstays their visas. And I think it is also important for us to call on ourselves, Markwe, particularly any organizations in particular, who have foreigners working for them to ensure that they stay up to date, to ensure that they stay within the confines of the laws in the country, just as it's the proper thing to do. But another angle that I like to look at this matter, Markwe, is if you remember, part of the word that went out about this matter when the U.S. released this statement was also that people should have verifiable information. I don't know whether that is something that government has to do, whether it's something that's at the behest of the people themselves. That's another thing. But then there's also the part of students who want to go study in the U.S. There are several things that have to be considered about that. They're expected to make their socials not private, to take it away from private to public, something that they can use to do some background check on the people who want to come to the United States of America. And I think this is something that every country should do to protect themselves. We've been talking, Marco, about foreigners coming into Nigeria from various parts of the world. How in the universe are they able to come in? We need to have systems also, I believe, that will checkmate such initiatives. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for me is not just for government to issue a statement, it's for people to co-own that initiative. Because unless the people co-own it, how many government officials do we have all over the nation? How many civil servants do we have? Federal, state, local, all together. I don't think they're all up to 10% of the population of Nigerians. So there we are right now, okay? So one of the things, it's just one thing that I think we should be giving some attention to here, and now. I hope there is some system around that, right? I hope there is some system around us ensuring that we, the people, also find a way to protect our nation, the interests of our country, and not circumvented by one way or one initiative or the other, Malcolm.
I was watching this program and wondering what this means. This statement reads, and this is also some information for those who are wondering. U.S. citizens currently in Nigeria who have overstayed their visas are strongly encouraged to regularize their stay through the amnesty portal. So the federal government of Nigeria has an amnesty portal before the 31st of July this year. So you have a few days left. 31st of July this year. It says failure to do so may result in significant financial penalties and long-term restrictions on re-entry to Nigeria. The embassy further noted that as part of broader immigration reforms, Nigeria's Interior Ministry introduced a $15 daily surcharge for each day a visitor overstays their visa, effective from May 1, 2025. An amnesty period during which individuals can regularize their status without incurring fines will end on July 31, 2025. And the penalties after August 1 include that visitors who fail to regularize their status by the end of the amnesty period will be subject to the accrued daily surcharge. Overstay of 6 months or more will result in a 5-year ban on re-entry. So these are the penalties as issued by the Nigerian Immigration Service. And I think that all foreign nationals will need to take note. Well, this is not all we're talking about this morning. We're talking about a host of issues. Amongst them, we've just spoken about the police, which we will be visiting much later on the program. But one of the things that have come up in recent times is this issue of constitutional amendment. A number of people have said, oh, while the constitutional amendment is ongoing, one of the things that should be at the forefront of this is state police, which I already made reference to. But some people are saying, look, let's ditch this constitution altogether, because every year we're amending, every 4 years we're amending. Let us have a brand new constitution. And at the forefront of this call is a group called the Patriots, made up of eminent statesmen and women of Nigeria who have lived and served a great deal in this country and outside the shores of it. Well, joining us this morning to take a look at some of the calls made by the Patriots is one of them. She is a very prominent voice from the South region of Nigeria, Ankyo Briggs. She's also an environmentalist. Madam, thank you so much for staying with us this morning and for joining us all the way from Port Harcourt. How is Port Harcourt this morning? Is it cold? Is it wet? What is it like?
It's wet, it's cold, but I think it will get better during the day, we hope. But yesterday was really awful, and the day before, flooding and all of that in town. But we're coping.
Okay, that's good to know. I also want to believe that the political temperature, has it cooled somewhat? Because, before now we know that politically speaking, there had been agitations, and well, I guess they're still there. Perhaps maybe not as loudly as they were before now, but what is it like now, especially with the looking for the word now, the rules, the state of emergency is still in place?
Yes, and I think the state of emergency is the key word for us in Rivers State, with all the controversy that surrounds how it came to be, why it came to be, how the governor is more or less the powers to govern the state that he was elected to govern, and how budgets are being flown over our heads for frivolous things that we don't need or that are being repeated, and where nobody is really accounting for our funds since almost 4 months now, where Rivers people have said over and over again that what we're going through because of the personality of the FCT minister, how he sees Rivers State today, and how the elected governor sees Rivers State, and what the people of Rivers State are going through. We're still, we're still not happy. But yes, we're watching to see how this all ends up by the 1st of October.
All right, the 1st of October is a date to watch then. Who knows, we might be surprised before that time, but it doesn't, I do not know if the truce that have been reached between the governor and the would I say, the Minister of the FCT, now brokered by the President, has affected the political temperature in Rivers State, has it?
Well, it has not, because quite honestly, what happened and what is still happening, it's very clearly between two Rivers people, the former governor and the present governor. And of course, the people of Rivers State who are at the receiving end of the former governor, particularly not wanting to see himself as a former governor, but rather wanting to see himself as someone who should be in control of the governance of Rivers State, as he claims, because he made somebody, in this case, the governor of Rivers State, Similar Ifora, the governor of Rivers State. But that's really weird, because no one person, not a single person, can make another person a governor of a state. If you say so, then you must accept that other people made you. I mean, Jonathan and his wife are very critical to the emergence of the former governor of Rivers State, and people like Dr. Peter Odili. So if you say you made somebody, then you first of all have to accept that somebody made you, not to talk of the one who gives us breath to breathe. You know, it's just ridiculous. And this is all part of the abuse of the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, which was written not in favor of Nigerians, and Nigerians did not have a say in it. And so people just do wake up in the morning and do what they like, irrespective of the consequences to the ordinary Nigerian who has done nothing to deserve what they're going through at this particular moment. Across Nigeria, mind you, not just in Rivers State, but ours is worse.
Well, I'm glad that that conversation is already, going to that area, because you are a member of the Patriots group that has been calling very, very quietly, aggressively, because they're not forceful about it, but they're not nonetheless pushful about what it is that they demand. They're not just speaking and then leaving the scene. They've been consistent in terms of, pushing this agenda for a brand new constitution. As some people will say, what exactly do we hope will happen with a brand new constitution that cannot happen with this current constitution?
In the nearly 3 decades that I personally have been involved in issues to do with justice and equity and truth-telling in Nigeria as a whole, and definitely on behalf of the Niger Delta zone and the people of Rivers State, we tend to forget. Most Nigerians tend to forget and move on. When I say tend to forget, we need to remember that the Patriots, if we recall how the Patriots came about, the first chairman of the Patriots was the late Rotimi Williams, Chief Rotimi Williams, his son. Amongst him were people like General Ike Nwachukwu, people like Benoit Bweze, Professor Benoit Bweze, all late, David Dafinone, so many people, Asemota. These were the people that in different stages put this together. And the reason why they put it together almost 30 decades ago, 20-something years ago, it has still not been achieved. And it was at this point that myself and a few other people that were younger than them were brought in, not as their mates, if you like, but as their aides, when the then leaders were putting together the Patriots, and why, the reasons why they had to put the Patriots together. The 1999 Constitution, even before it was used, people like Sir Anthony Enahoro, whom I also worked with, had already started looking at the 1999 Constitution and had come up over a period of time. And the late Buhari himself was part of that process at that time, to put together a people's constitution as opposed to this Constitution of 1999 that is constantly referred to as a military. In the Niger Delta, particularly, people like Toronto Douglas, Nemo Bassi, many other people, including myself, women, youth, looked at the 1999 Constitution when it first came out and came to several conclusions. One, it was anti-women. Two, it was anti-youths. And three, it was anti-Niger Delta, in the sense that we found ourselves going to the situation where, whether we liked it or not, the only resources that was going to develop Nigeria, even though Nigeria has so many other resources, i.e., we're coming to revenue sharing, which was then done, which is done by states and then also by local government, of which our region still comes short, and representation was against us and all of that. So this is not, I mean, people are thinking that this is the first time that we're coming up, or Nigerians are requesting that this 1999 Constitution is not favorable. And in my opinion, the people who are, if you like, arguing against the call for a new constitution are the people that the 1999 Constitution favors politically. A lot of things need to be changed in the 1999 Constitution. In 2014, where I was part of the people that were in the 2014, delegates of the 2014 Constitution. At that time, by the time we finished with our jobs, it was very clear that if the government had gone along, we would have a new constitution. So if that is still what is on the ground, I see no reason why politicians are shying away from entertaining the idea that Nigerians are calling for a new constitution. It's our right to call for a new constitution, and not a constitution that is bandaged and plastered and year in, year out as amended. There is no part of the constitution you will quote that you will not now hear as amended. So we've been amending and amending, and we're saying, no, let's stop amending. Let Nigerians come together, because 1999 Constitution, we the people did not write it. The military wrote this constitution and handed it over to the then former general, who is a colleague of the military, that wrote this this constitution. So I believe, along with my with the members and the leaders of the Patriots, that for Nigeria to move
was anti-women, anti-youths, and anti-Niger Delta. We've seen quite a number of moves to try and make it more pro-women. We've seen the National Assembly take some steps in that regard. We've seen the Not Too Young to Run law passed and the Constitution amended to effect that people, in their 20s to 30s can now run for public office, as a result of the amendments in the Constitution. The Niger Delta continues to remain a battle, but we found out that even at the conversation that the Patriots had, while the resolutions were being read by Mr. Ozekome Eseyen, it does appear that even amongst the Patriots, there are still certain bones of contention. Do you want to talk to us about it?
Well, the issue of, let's just say, resource control, for instance, because The question, I think, is based around the Niger Delta reaction, or the Niger Delta people's position. The issue of resource control seems to be a sore point for people who are not from the Niger Delta, and I can appreciate that. But you see, when we talk about resource control, it's not just about the fact that, oh, we're saying resource control because we want everything to ourselves. Yes, we want everything, but we're not saying that we won't pay tax to federal government. So this has been a long-term argument and position for the Niger Delta. When it comes to the issue of the that make this point, that at no point we are writing a constitution for Nigeria. We're not. We've not given that impression. The leadership has not given that impression. There was even a debate for a while as to if we should even come up with the elaborate position that we exposed and shared with the public in terms of the resolution. But again, the resolution had to come out, if you like, because as we all know now, because the patriots have said it, in the past month or so, zones, each zone, and any zone that says it didn't, I will be surprised. All the 6 zones in Nigeria, within the states within them, at one time or the other, sat down in different capitals or areas of these states, of the federating states, and different ethnic nationalities within those states and peoples were able to voice their expectation of the 1999 Constitution. Some, like Obasanjo himself, are saying that it is about the people who are running the Constitution and not about the Constitution. I disagree, because if you have a bad Constitution, if you have an unfavorable Constitution, it doesn't matter who runs it. As passionate as I am, if I want to do anything and I'm stopped by the Constitution, then it means that for me to achieve that, I have to then push for the amendment, if you like, of that particular area of the Constitution, to then allow me to achieve what I believe I want to achieve on behalf of my people or region or state or Nigeria. So the point therefore then becomes, look, let us have a new constitution where everybody is involved in this constitution. We talked about state police. People like Tambowa were involved. The spokesperson of the Middle Belt, Luca Bonia, youths were involved. Market women were there. The patriots tried as much as they can to carry, I don't use that word, for everybody to be involved. Now, that's not the end of it. What we're saying is that what we have gathered in the past 2 days is going to go to the president. If you recall, some months before now, the patriots had gone to visit with the president, and I was humbly amongst the people that were there. And our leadership made the presentation. And the president did not push us aside and say, you know what, I'm not interested. That's not what he said. He said, right now, I'm interested in the economy. But you are free to come back to me and we can discuss this further. And I'm expecting that at that point, we will be able to bring another guideline or guideline, if you like, to him about really what we should do to achieve this new constitution. A constitution is about a people agreeing on how they're going to live together. Nigeria, unfortunately, has not agreed since the days of the British on how we are going to live together. And that has always been our problem, the albatross that we carry. How are we going to live together? How do we feel that everybody has justice and equity and not just one section of Nigeria, be it the South or be it the North? Why is it? And people have said to my hearing that, oh, this is about Southern Nigeria. No, very, very far from it. Yetima Sherima was there. Ahmed was there. I heard what he said. Arewa was invited. The Northern Elders Forum were invited. The Yorubas were invited. The INC was invited. Ohanese was invited. The Middle Belt was. So we can't really accept when people say that other people were not involved. As much as possible, a lot of people were involved. And this is just the beginning. The president will have to, we're suggesting that he should now take this to the National Assembly. National Assembly is not going to write a constitution for Nigerians, but the National Assembly can make changes to the constitution based on what the people they're representing have requested for from them. And so, if we are guided by these genuine principles of equity and justice, then I think Nigeria has a chance. But when some of us keep resisting what some of us believe is the best way forward, then we're just going to be stagnant in Nigeria and remain indebted financially and remain a country that is abusing and misusing the funds that they should use to develop Nigeria.
Perhaps
it's
one
a
of
shame
the challenges,
that,
madam, if you
with
can
all
hear
the
me,
wealth that is coming
my
from oil
apologies
and
for
gas,
butting in.
that Nigeria.
My sincere apologies for butting him. Perhaps one of the challenges that some people are having in the resistance that you talked about is because maybe they do not understand, or maybe they don't have enough persuasion to believe that we need a completely different constitution. I mean, you said the other time that you don't agree with those who say that the mindset of the Nigerian is what needs to change before a new constitution would make any difference. Mr. Fashola said as much about 2 years ago. But one of the challenges we've had in this country over time, madam, is the implementation of any law or policy or initiative of government, federal, state, or local. So, and it's the same thing it happens as far as this constitution is concerned. One of the things, for instance, that the constitution says is that, in fact, the number one function of local governments, that they need to sit with the state governments to talk about the economic development of their areas. I don't know if that kind of thing ever happens. So let's talk about the implementation. How will the new constitution be implemented different from the old one, the 1999 current constitution that we have, when we have exactly the same set of people who are going to be executing it?
Absolutely. I agree with you there. It's lack of political will. And that is why someone like me, I'm known to say, I'm not a politician. I choose not to be a politician, but heck, I'm interested in what politicians, the people who claim to be our politicians, I am interested in what they are doing in my name. If you look at very quickly what has happened to us in Rivers State, that actually strikes the point for me that politicians in my state have gotten it wrong. What they are doing in my name is not acceptable. It has not taken the state forward. It's the same with the country Nigeria. It's the same with the National Assembly. It's the same with the people who are representing us. Now, if we say that if the same set of people, and we do actually say that the same set of people, if they are the people that are going to run the new constitution, we will be able to caution ourselves, having that in mind as what will be a problem, to make sure then that when we have a new constitution, within that new constitution, we will be able to hold them accountable because they've sworn to that constitution. We will write into it that anything you do outside, and I'm not talking as a patriot now, I'm talking as a Nigerian, I'm talking as a River State daughter, I'm talking as someone who is from my ethnic nationality. Now, if you fail to do, whether you are Ijo representing me, whether you are a governor representing me, if you fail to do the things that you're supposed to do for me according to the constitution, then you will be held responsible. Now, what responsibility we will hold you accountable for will also be in the constitution, because then we will resist you, we will remove you. But right now, the way Nigeria is governed and the caliber of people that are holding our powers are misusing those powers, and they are getting away with it.
Okay.
The key question, the key thing here is that you and I and all Nigerians who are not politicians must not allow them to get away with what they are
I guess
doing.
that also
That
says,
is not
madam,
in our interest.
I guess that also says that there has to be certain soft infrastructure built around the new constitution being proposed to ensure that what you're saying actually holds ground. But let me touch ground on something that I think is a little touchy. There are certain parts of this country that if you are not an indigene of that tribe, you don't have any hold. There are people who have said that in certain parts of the Southeast, for instance, you can't own anything, any property, if you are not from that particular state or particular environment. Even if you are from the same region, you don't have that authority. And that kind of thing has been said about different parts of the nation all over the place. That's why you hear something like, okay, you people should go back to your town, that you people should go back to your town, and that. I don't know if there is any way we can legislate that, because from what I know, any Nigerian is at liberty to own anything in any part of the country. But it doesn't seem to be the same thing in certain environments. That cannot be legislated, can it?
Of course it can, because why I say so is this: you've already laid it out there, and these are the issues. The reason why, in my experience and opinion, that people feel this way is because they feel that they have been overtaken, if you like, in their own state, in their own environment, and yet they pay a price for this, because this 1999 constitution that was written more or less by the military, some people call it Decree 24, and these things that were imported into the constitution are against the people of that state. Now, if when we sit down to discuss the constitution of Nigeria, different people from different places will raise issues that are in their interest. Don't expect me to raise issues that is in the interest of somebody else and leave my own interest. Let the other person raise his or her interest, and that's why we all must sit down. And then some assurances will have to come to allay the fears of the people who, for instance, say you cannot have or own a property full lease or forever, or maybe hand it over if you're not an indigene of that state or of that region or of that local government areas. There are reasons why these sentiments are there. It is then up to us who feel this sentiment, anybody who feels this sentiment, to then find a solution. And this is where, in my opinion, politicians come in.
Okay.
If we are truly talking about one Nigeria, and then say, no, those fears you have should not be there. And therefore, this and this is what we're going to put in the Constitution, so that those concerns you have are not going to be concerns. Genuinely, some of those concerns are right.
Absolutely.
When it comes, yes, some of those
my
concerns
apologies.
are right.
Yeah. And it's not just gonna, again, you talked about it being legislated. Again, the question will be the implementation strategy around it. There are so many other questions to ask you, madam. For instance, will a new constitution be amendable and all of that? We'll come to that some other time. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Ankyo Briggs is a human rights activist and an environmentalist. We appreciate your time this morning and your perspectives.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We'll take a short break and there is more to come after then.
Well, I did say that we're revisiting the issue of the yes, and this morning we have with us Mr. Aderemi Adeoye, who is a former police commissioner, retired as a police commissioner serving in Anambra State. You're welcome to Sunrise City this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, I was speaking to my colleague this morning, and of course, Nigerians, and I said, look, that was a really heartbreaking sight, seeing police officers who have served this country meritoriously having to protest to get what is due them. I'm sure that as a retired commissioner of police yourself, you must be really, really heartbroken. What went wrong with the contributory pension system which they are complaining about?
Basically, I think the contributory pension scheme is such that does not meet with the aspiration and the minimum expected standard of living for one who has served this country for that length of period of 35 years. That is virtually all their life. And most of these police officers, policing is the only thing they know how to do. They have no secondary skills. Many of them don't have any other profession they can fall back upon. And this contributory pension scheme is part of their own salaries while in service. They contribute 8% of their salary monthly to this scheme, while the federal government contributes 10% to give a total of 18% in accordance with the Pension Reform Act of 2014. Now, the first problem is that these benefits are never gotten on time. I think the system is inefficient and ineffective. For example, you retire even as a commissioner of police, you have to wait for about 2 years before you get your benefits. From the rank of commissioner of police downward, your salary is stopped the very day you retire. And for the 2 years you are waiting to get your benefits, nobody cares how you feed, how you buy your medication, how you pay your children's school fees, or where you live. For 2 years. So within that period, many retired officers die off.
It's really heartbreaking.
That is the reality. They die off. Now, when the benefits eventually come, they give it in bits and pieces. For example, they probably give you half of your gratuity, what are entitled to as gratuity, while the rest is distributed over monthly pension payments. Now, the amount is so paltry. A retired commissioner of police used to earn about 87,000 naira as monthly pension until recently when the president ordered an increment. And when that increment was paid, the commissioner got 15,000. So up till now, he earns less than 100,000 naira. Of course, these are officers who retired many years before our set. I have not gotten mine, so I don't know yet. And I've retired over a year ago. So I don't know yet what it will be.
So you already knew that you have to wait for 2 years.
Yes, I programmed my mind that before I say anything, I have to wait for 2 years before you see gratuity, before you see any pension. Pension comes after gratuity. And then many officers are looking forward to this gratuity to set up a small business. Some even need it to complete their house, the shelter they want to put their family in. So many of them are so depressed, so dejected, that the system does not care. And that is actually the message being sent out by the inefficiency in the system. The amount itself is nothing to write home about, not to talk of prompt payment. It doesn't happen.
We haven't, well, the numbers that we have seen, some people say this is a symbolic protest in the sense that perhaps the number of people that has been affected by this is far much more than the people that we have seen on the roads, carrying the placards. Can you tell us what the sentiment has been like amongst retired police officers that seeing this protest on TV?
Seeing the protest on TV, I can tell you that they represent majority of the retirees who are actually affected. Everybody is affected. No police retiree is exempted. Every retiree who is a police officer, from the rank of commissioner of police downwards, are affected. And what those you see on TV are just a microcosm, a very small, insignificant, infinitesimal number of the population of police retirees. So indeed, this is just symbolic.
The IG of police spoke yesterday, saying that the matters that upon which they are protesting are issues that are already being addressed. They're working on it. It's just that they're not aware of it. How reassuring would you say his words were after the meeting he had with the retired police officers yesterday?
I read about that meeting. I was not there. However, the report I got of the proceedings at the meeting portrayed the IG as being sensitive and concerned about the welfare of the officers. The problem was not his own creation. It had existed before he came into office. And when he came in, he had been rubbing minds with officers to see a way, to ameliorate the situation. Initially, he was not in support of the exit of the police from the contributory pension scheme. His question was exit to where? And the answer to that is exit to wherever the military, the DSS, the NIA exited to. Before the contributory pension scheme, there was the defined benefit scheme. I'm not a legal expert, and I must tell you, since I've not gotten one, I will not know which one is better. But the fact is that an army captain, for example, gets about 300,000 naira in monthly pension. That's the equivalent of a deputy superintendent of police, while the commissioner of police gets less than 100,000. So you can easily see the injustice in the system. The police officers spend all their lives protecting the nation and the citizenry. And what is good for the geese should be good for the gander. There is urgent need to revisit this issue promptly. I'm also aware that there's a bill before the House of Representatives, and they have moved it now to Committee of the Whole. All right. So maybe when that happens, they will establish the Nigeria Police Force Pension Board and exit the police from the contributory pension scheme, which we believe is the beginning of addressing this issue. So the IG on his part has informed recently that they are looking inward to see how they can put measures in place to augment what is already payable from internal police resources. That will be a welcome development, but the pronouncement is not the desired end result. It is implementation. The devil is in the details. So when that is implemented, it will actually give relief to a lot of police retirees, many of whom at present die before their time.
I do believe that Nigeria owes its police force an apology, because it is untenable that we'll have police officers retire and wait 2 years to get any benefits whatsoever. I mean, and as a result of that, we lose people, who have served, a lot of them meritoriously, this country. We certainly will keep tabs on this particular matter and see how, the IG, lives up to the words of promise that he has made.
I want to thank you for your empathy. And I want to reach out to my colleagues, retired officers, that even as they showcase to the world the plight of retired police officers, they must not lose their sense of policing. They must not do anything that will allow miscreants or people who do not mean well for the nation to hijack the protest. They must always be law-abiding and be peaceful in their conduct. And they must have confidence in the leadership, both of the country and of the force, to resolve the problem. We must retain this confidence, because when hope is lost, all is lost. We must keep hope alive, and better days shall come.
And that's the hope that we have as well. Mr. Aderemi Adeoye, we have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning.
The pleasure is mine.
He's a former police commissioner who retired as police commissioner, as CP in Anambra State. Thank you once more.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's how we'll wrap up the program this beautiful, it's already Tuesday. Yes, we ask you to please stay safe on the roads. If it's wet, please drive with care and pay attention to your neighbor, pay a little more care to what it is that your neighbor might be going through. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogunyusi.
And I'll add to that, Maokwe, what goes around comes around. Business Morning is at the top of the hour. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day.